Folks, welcome back to E7. We hope you've been having a wonderful time. I am joined today by two developers from theHunter, Call of the Wild, and they've both worked on a new upcoming map that you may know about and you may be excited about. It takes place in Australia. It's Emerald Coast. And I'd like to have these gentlemen introduce themselves here today so that we can get to know who they are and what they do.
Hello everybody, my name is Arshak Ardeshir and I am a senior designer at Avalanche working on the Hunter.
Hi, I'm Arthur Vilain. I'm also a game designer working on Call of the Wild.
That's very cool, gentlemen. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about the Hunter today. I'm a big fan. I play. I own all the things. I play all the maps, and I'm excited. I'm actually on vacation when we get to see Emerald Coast, but I'll hop in as soon as I'm back. So obviously, just a few days ago, you announced the Emerald Coast map is based in Australia. Can you talk about what the biomes are in this region and what players can expect?
One of our challenges with Australia is it is a very big place with very diverse environments. And so we wanted to showcase as much of it as we could, which is why we chose the east coast of Australia, which we felt allowed us to have a lot of different biomes on the map. So what you can find is you can find along the coast all the sandy beaches as well as the mangrove forests, and then as you go further inland it becomes like a nice tropical jungle, and which then transforms into like a drier, more open outback as you travel further to the west and south.
So, obviously the Hunter has taken us all over the world at this point. What was it about Australia that made you want to go to Australia as the next map, as the next region?
Well, first, we've known that it has been a big community request for a while, and this is also a place where we wanted to return to because, the Hunter Classic already had some Australian maps. And so we were excited to deliver on that for sure. Yeah, this is basically the main reason why we wanted to return to Australia, for the community request and all the unique wildlife that we can have on this map that doesn't exist anywhere else. So we felt that this was a really, really nice destination for our players. If
I'm not mistaken, you are bringing a new weapon. I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly, so if I'm not saying it correctly, correct me. The Zagan Varminter, the 22-250 bolt-action rifle. Did I get that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So this is a new rifle that is bundled with the Australia DLC. And the reason we chose this rifle in particular is the two main characters you're going to meet in Emerald Coast are both farmers. And we generally try to have a weapon that represents the reserve, because of a cultural link to the place, or just a weapon that is popular over there. And a lot of Australian farmers use varmint rifles to protect their land and their livestock. And so we thought that it was a natural fit for both the characters and the place. And we chose a 22-250 caliber specifically, as it offers a nice alternative to the 223 rifles that are already in the game, while also being a caliber that is quite popular in Australia. So we think it's going to give players nice options for hunting class 2 and 3 animals in the game.
That's actually very cool. I didn't know that. But yeah, it would make sense that if you're a farmer, you would have a lot of problem with different, I guess, depending on where you are, what you would have an issue with in terms of pests and environment. But speaking of animals, what animals can we expect? Obviously, there's probably a few that people have already seen if they've watched any trailers. But what animals can we expect to see in Australia that folks can look forward to?
Yeah, hopefully the players will like our roster. I believe people might already know, but we have something for everybody, we believe, and we have a big bunch of deer. I think we have 6 deer type with the hog deer, the rusa, and the red deer. And we have the exotic spotlight animals, the eastern grey kangaroo and the very aggressive huge salty. And I want to stress that it's a very aggressive animal. It's not like the alligator. And we also have the interesting birds in the magpie goose and the stubble quail.
Cool. And there's a couple in particular. So one thing I've always been impressed with is just how fluid and natural movements of the animals in any part of the Hunter are. And I was kind of thinking as I was watching the trailer and as I was, contemplating the animals that were coming to Emerald Coast, was it difficult at all for the eastern gray kangaroo and the saltwater crocodile in particular? Like, they seem like they might have a movement that's a little bit different than your typical four-legged animal. Was there any challenges in creating that and making it work?
Yes, it's absolutely a lot more challenging than our normal four-legged animals. Well, I can't speak to the specific difficulties because I'm not of the animators, but they do move very differently. The salty kind of slithers across the ground, and the kangaroo naturally jumps. Not just that, but also like their big tails carry a lot of weight and expression, so that has to feel and move correctly. And also making that work in our world with programming is also a challenge. So it takes a little bit of everybody in the team to make that work. So a lot of praise has to go to the rest of the team to make those small animations feel, to bring these animals alive in the game.
Right. Something that we have Shacknews has one of our editors in Australia, and I was asking him, I was like, because I'm not that familiar other than through his lens. I was asking him about kangaroos, and he's like, yeah, they're like, in some parts of Australia they're an absolute menace, like, to people, and I did not know that. So from an outsider's perspective, I always looked at Australia's and kangaroos as something of a fun animal, and he's like, no, they can certainly be problematic, which sort of leads me to another question. With every region that comes to the Hunter, there's a narrative component, and sometimes they're pretty surprising in scope and how much narrative you can get out of each region. What do we expect from Australia and Emerald Coast here?
So the main storyline is composed of 8 missions and 12 side missions. We know players enjoy side missions, so we're trying to increase those. And in those, we also have some more hunting challenges. So players that enjoy a more challenge in their hunt can try to complete those. Narratively, we're focusing on conservation as well as the importance of a lifelong friendship. And Arthur was talking about that earlier. We get a glimpse into the friendship of our 2 main characters, Sophia and Robert. And what we're trying to do here is exploring the culture of quick, witty Australian banter. And
that, I'm glad you said conservation, because I started playing the Hunter, I don't know, years ago, and started making my way through the different maps at the time. And something that caught me off guard, I didn't realize it at the time until I started playing, was that conservation is an actual theme that seems to play out through all of the narrative that you have. So when you visit a new location, you're actually learning about that location, and it's, as far as I know, accurate to what some of the struggles and some of the themes that you would see in that region. Why is conservation so important to Expansive Worlds, and especially with the Hunter specifically?
The main thing we strive for is keeping the hunting fantasy intact, and we believe a good hunter is an ethical hunter. But we choose the theme based on the location we're at, and conservation is a more critical topic in Australia. The damage caused by introduced species is an important cultural aspect of hunting in Australia, and we wanted to highlight that. But we don't talk about conservation in every reserve, but we do it in a lot of them. That's very true. But we try to balance the contextual aspect of a location with an engaging story, while also creating an opportunity to hunt fun and interesting animals. But I think ultimately we believe that hunters we know that hunters are enthusiasts of nature, and we should therefore also be custodians of nature. And we need to recognize that without proper care of nature, we might not be able to hunt the animals in the places that we want to in the future. And we believe that's an important message.
I think it's one of the reasons that I enjoy the Hunter so much, aside from obviously video games are about entertainment and fun. But it's also a little bit more fun and a little bit more engaging when, it's not as straightforward as just pulling the trigger mindlessly, and you actually have something to think about. I think that's one of the things that really sets it apart. We've talked a bit about Emerald Coast here. Obviously, exclusively about Emerald Coast, but when can players expect to hop in? No pun intended. It really wasn't, but I saw it coming. Just at the last second, I was like, "Oh no, I'm going to do it." And so, when can they expect to hop in? What's the release date for Emerald Coast?
So we're very excited to get Emerald Coast into the hands of all our players on June 20th.
I also just wanted to ask, where can folks go to find out more? So not just about Emerald Coast, but the Hunter in general, Expansive Worlds in general. Like, where's the best place to track down your games and your communities?
The game is available on PC and console. You can read more about us and Expansive Worlds on avalanchestudios.com. You can also read more and learn more about the game via our communities, which is active on Discord, on YouTube, on Reddit, and all other social media. We have a very friendly and welcoming community, so feel free to jump in there and get to know them.
I appreciate you two taking the time today. I'm always happy to talk about the Hunter and Expansive Worlds and all the worlds that you create. So hopefully, this interview will pique the interest of some folks, and we can get some new hunters in the Hunter and in Emerald Coast specifically. So again, thank you so much for taking the time. I hope you both have a wonderful day.